Have you ever noticed how two people can look at the same person, the same event, the same truth, and come to completely different conclusions? Why one child is called gifted, while another is called lazy. Why one mistake destroys someone's reputation forever, while another person gets forgiven instantly. Why attractive people are trusted more, rich people are respected more, loud people are heard more. And the strangest part, most people don't even realize they are doing it. Because bias does not announce itself. It hides inside first impressions, inside culture, inside childhood, inside fear, inside algorithms, inside news channels, inside schools, inside religion, inside families, inside you. The world tells you that humans are rational creatures. But human beings are emotional creatures pretending to be rational. And once you start seeing bias, you can never unsee it again. You begin to notice how people judge books by covers, how social media rewards appearance over truth, how people defend opinions they never questioned, how entire societies are built on invisible preferences nobody talks about. Bias is not just racism, not just sexism, not just politics. Bias is the hidden code running through human nature. It decides who gets opportunities, who gets ignored, who gets canceled, who gets worshipped, who gets hired, who gets loved. And the darkest part is this. Even when people believe they are good, they still carry bias inside them. Because bias is not always hatred. Sometimes bias is comfort. Sometimes it is familiarity. Sometimes it is survival. And sometimes bias is inherited so deeply, people mistake it for truth. Invisible filters. Imagine walking into a room full of strangers. Within seconds, your brain already starts making decisions. Safe or dangerous, important or irrelevant, attractive or unattractive, smart or stupid, without evidence, without conversation, without truth. Your brain creates stories instantly because human beings are wired to simplify reality. The world is too complicated, too unpredictable, too overwhelming. So the mind creates shortcuts, and those shortcuts become bias. That is why people judge poor people as lazy, quiet people as weak, emotional men as unstable, confident people as intelligent. Not because these things are true, but because the human brain loves patterns. And patterns become assumptions. Assumptions become beliefs. Beliefs become systems. Then entire societies start operating on distortions. A beautiful person gets treated better by teachers, gets more attention online, gets forgiven faster, gets more opportunities. Meanwhile, someone less attractive may need double the effort for half the recognition. Not because life is fair, but because human perception is corrupted by unconscious preference. And social media made this problem far worse. Algorithms study human attention better than humans study themselves. They learn your fears, your desires, your anger, your political weakness, your insecurities. Then they feed you content that confirms what you already believe, not truth, confirmation. And slowly, your world becomes an echo chamber. You stop learning, you stop questioning, you stop listening. You only consume ideas that make you feel correct. This is why people become more divided every year. Not because humanity suddenly became evil, but because bias is now industrialized, mass-produced, optimized, weaponized. Every app wants your attention. Every politician wants your emotion. Every corporation wants your loyalty. And bias is the easiest tool to control people. Because biased people are predictable people. Once someone emotionally identifies with an idea, they defend it like survival itself, even when facts prove otherwise. This is why debates online feel useless. People are not searching for truth. They are searching for validation. And validation is addictive. The brain would rather protect identity than accept reality. That is why people defend toxic traditions, corrupt leaders, dangerous ideologies, even abusive relationships. Because admitting the truth would destroy the version of reality they built their identity around. And human beings fear psychological collapse more than deception. A child grows up hearing that success means becoming a doctor or engineer. Years later, he feels guilty for wanting to become an artist. Bias. A woman speaks confidently in a meeting. Some people call her powerful. Others call her aggressive. Bias. A man cries publicly after losing someone. Some people see humanity. Others see weakness. Bias. Someone with expensive clothes walks into a restaurant. Instant respect. Another person with worn-out clothes enters the same room. Instant suspicion. Bias. A famous celebrity makes a mistake. Millions defend them. An ordinary person makes the same mistake. Destroyed. Bias. And these judgments happen in seconds, because humans do not see reality directly. They see reality through conditioning, through memory, through tribe, through emotion, through fear. Even history itself is biased. Every nation tells history from its own perspective. Every generation rewrites morality according to its own values. What one era calls justice, another era calls cruelty. What one society celebrates, another condemns. That is why blindly trusting collective opinion is dangerous. Crowds have supported wars, slavery, genocide, dictators, public humiliation. Not because everyone was evil, but because collective bias feels normal when everyone around you shares it. And that is the terrifying thing about human beings. Normality is not proof of truth. Sometimes normality is just shared blindness. As Carl Jung once said, people will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own souls. Because the hardest bias to detect is the bias inside yourself. Learning to see. The goal is not to become a perfectly unbiased human. That is impossible. Every human being carries perspective. The real goal is awareness. Because awareness weakens unconscious control. The moment you question your own thinking, you become harder to manipulate. Most people question others. Very few question themselves. That is why self-awareness is a form of power. Ask yourself, why do I dislike this person instantly? Why do I trust this person automatically? Why does this opinion make me emotional? Did I truly think this myself? Or did I inherit it from my environment? These questions are uncomfortable because they attack the ego. And the ego hates uncertainty. The ego wants certainty, tribe, identity, superiority. But truth often begins where certainty dies. The smartest people are usually not the loudest people. They are the people most willing to admit, I might be wrong. Because intelligence is not knowing everything. Intelligence is staying open. And once you learn this, you start escaping mental prisons. You stop worshiping appearances. You stop blindly following crowds. You stop assuming confidence equals competence. You stop reducing people into labels. And slowly, you begin seeing human beings with more depth, not as categories, not as stereotypes, but as complicated individuals carrying invisible battles. This changes everything, because the moment you stop seeing people through rigid bias, you start seeing reality more clearly. Breaking the pattern. For the next week, observe your own mind carefully. Notice who you instantly trust, who you instantly dislike, who you ignore, who you admire, and ask why. Not emotionally, honestly. Pay attention to how social media affects your opinions. Notice how headlines manipulate emotion before facts. Notice how often people react without understanding context. Notice how quickly crowds attack someone online without evidence. Then do something rare. Pause. Do not immediately agree. Do not immediately hate. Do not immediately follow. Think. Because in a world filled with emotional manipulation, thinking independently becomes revolutionary. Read perspectives you disagree with. Talk to people outside your bubble. Spend time understanding before judging. And most importantly, watch your ego. Because ego turns opinions into identity. The moment your identity becomes attached to being right, you stop growing. Real growth begins when you accept this uncomfortable truth. Your mind is not as objective as you think. Nobody's is. And maybe the greatest freedom in modern society is the ability to see beyond the invisible biases controlling everyone else. Because once you learn how bias shapes the world, you stop becoming an unconscious participant in manipulation and start becoming a conscious observer of reality.